pleased to introduce to you the great Ed Roland. Thank you,
Well,
Ed,
thank you so
for
much.
joining
How's
me.
everybody doing?
Doing great, and I'm excited to start right now and talk about the new album that you have, because there's a very interesting backstory to it, which was you were the first musicians to record at Elvis's home in Palm Springs. So
Correct.
I'm curious about how that came about, and also, the Palm Springs area and the Joshua Tree and that high desert has been the inspiration of a lot of great music over the years, from the
Yeah.
U2 Joshua Tree to Graham Parsons to the Queens of the Stone Age. So tell me a little about that, and tell me about working in that high desert, and what that experience is.
We had met the couple of gentlemen that owned Elvis's house. Of course, he owned Graceland. Everybody knows that. But when he passed, he also owned, it was called uh, his estate there in Palm Springs. But he spent his last Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthday, and the last three recordings at his house. RCA had done the acoustical tile and stuff in this room, so he just never left home. But when he passed, Priscilla and Lisa Marie, they just didn't want anything to do with it. So it just sat dormant since he passed. And so I met the guy who was just like, I know it's a little rusty and all of that, but we're Southern boys. We like rusty. We'll make it work. And we brought in furniture, tried to make it, that hip mid-century and what the King would like in there. So it was exciting for us, especially being from the South. I mean, Elvis was like a god for me growing up anyway. I'm old enough to, like, people would, you know, he was a religion, to be honest with you. So just to be able to sit there and go, man, I'm the first man to sleep in Elvis Presley's bedroom. Like, that's kind of cool. So we set the studio up, control room, and Lisa Marie's room, and then the big rooms where we're old school with Johnny, our drummer. We put him right in the middle, and then we horseshoe around him. Take about an hour to learn the song, and then the guys take no more than 3 or 5 times to make a take. They work really quick. And I went in there not thinking we were going to do a double album. I had 10 or 12 songs, I can't remember, and they recorded them in 4 days. I was like, well, you know what, guys, why don't y'all take 4 days off, and y'all go to, Joshua Tree, Palm Desert, Palm Springs, wherever you want to go, just go hike, whatever. And I had my vinyl shipped out, like 100, just of my go-to classics. And I set in Elvis's party room with my record player and my vinyl, danced, and somehow in 4 days came up with 10 more songs. So they came back in, and damn it, they didn't do it in 5 days. I was like, well, what are you going to do for 2 more weeks? Like, it was like I was spent at that point. But it was very spiritual for us. Like I said, it was very, especially our parents all grew up with Elvis. Jesse, our lead guitarist grandfather, actually wrote with Elvis a couple of times on some gospel stuff. So it was like hereditary. Like, and we're just sitting there going, we're in Elvis Presley's house, man. We're jumping in his pool. Like, it was just a little surreal, but we got around that and got fired up and got going. Like I said, we weren't planning on doing a double record, but it worked out that way. And I always, as a child, growing up in the 70s and 80s, I always dreamed, if I ever made it, there's something romantic about a double album to me.
Mm-hmm.
My first one was Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and then I started learning, going back to Exile and White Album. Bruce Springsteen's The River was, when I was in high school, I was like, man, there was something romantic about a double album. And, in this day and age, because we thought we were doing one, the last recording we did, we set in to do a double album, and they were like, nobody does that anymore. I was like, okay. So we split up one and released the other one 2 years later. This time we didn't set out to do it. And finally the manager was like, we can't keep, y'all are just too much coming out. Let's do it. And it fit. We really they felt comfortable when they listened to the whole 20 songs. They're like, this is really interesting. It's kind of shows what Collective Soul is. Y'all experimented just enough, and it's just a good showcase for what y'all are about. And so luckily finally got my double album, man. I love it.
There's a number of really great songs on that album, and I could hear when you tell me that you took some time, you listened to some vinyl. Because there's a number of songs I could hear the influences of. You have a song that directly is about Bob Dylan. Where's
Right.
Bob Dylan today? And there's a song at the end of the album it's I Know You, You Know Me, which sounds to me very 80s psychedelic furry. And I'm
Very
curious.
Cars. I was a big
The
Cars
Cars,
fan.
the Cars. I would say the 80s Cars, absolutely. So tell me about when you have the 10 songs that you're gearing to write, and you're pulling out these records. What kind of records are you listening to? What records, and what is inspiring you from these albums?
I just listen to everything. Like I'm just looking at what I got the other
Yeah,
day.
pull out a stack of records and show me what's going on.
All right. Well, this one's really cool. It's from '65. It's a Frank Sinatra that they edited his song to like for radio. It was for radio only, so they didn't have to spend a lot of time with the whole song. So it's all these um just it says carefully edited minute masters from his Capitol Records days.
Are they literally the songs clipped into 1 minute segments?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
I've
30
seen
of them.
those before. I've got a
Got Dr.
Bobby
John.
Womack like that. Oh yeah. Oh, I
Dr.
don't know
John.
that one. Oh, the
Well,
singles.
it's like
Singles.
his great. It's his singles from when's it from '68 to '74. So
So good.
I love
Voodoo.
them. And
Yeah.
then this was really cool. Like the Sonic Youth,
Yeah.
where they had their friends pick what songs they wanted to hear, like a greatest hits from all like. Let me see. You got Flea picked one, Eddie Vedder, Beck, Radiohead, Mike Watt, Flaming Lips. So it's kind of fun to see what people think of other bands. And here's my baby. This is the original first pressing of
Oh
Elvis's
yeah.
record.
Oh yeah. Beautiful.
So this is what I got last week. So got Willie Nelson,
Oh, beautiful. Great
and
album.
then Gene Clark.
Oh,
There's
love
more over here.
Gene.
I can keep going forever and ever. Like it's just never ends. I got Nat King Cole. So
Oh,
I literally try to learn from everybody. Kind of
and
just listen to everything. That's my gig. And uh, my wife knows when I'm bathing because I have my whole floor downstairs, my studio, and all my records, and I just crank it up so she knows not to bother me when that's going on. Like it's a fun time for me.
I love it.
How
Yeah.
many how many how many vinyls do you own, you think?
Well, I'm separated right now from my main collection where I've got 8,000. I'm in a temporary place, and this right
Mhm.
here is about 500. And like if I were to pull out just like you, it's probably some crazy diverse. You know,
Right.
so we start right here. Let's say Richie Havens,
Oh, yeah.
'83, actually really good albums. It's from '69 or '70. The classic.
Oh, yeah.
Wish You Were
Pink
Here.
Floyd.
Yeah, this one's. Oh yeah, this is.
It's amazing how many times I buy Pink Floyd albums. They just released the 50th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon, but I can't help myself.
I know. Same thing. That Wish You Were Here. That's a Canadian pressing. I've got
Oh,
the
that's cool.
U.S. I've got this one's good. You know this band Sunvolt.
Are you kidding me?
I know I
Well,
shouldn't say that.
dude, our last record, we were listening to Sunvolt, and because that's what I do when I show the guys a song. I'm like, I feel this vibe. So Sunvolt, it was Right as Rain, and it
Yeah,
had a guitar tone on there. I was like, listen to this record and the guitar tone. I was like, I want that for this riff. So yes, no Sunvolt, very well.
I love that. I'll do a couple more here. This
All right.
one's Charles Wright, the Watts 103rd Street Band.
Okay.
Um, oh yeah, 96 Tears, Quest and the Mysterians, old
Okay.
garage rock. And I think the last one here, Blues Magoo's Electric Comic Book. You know this one?
That I don't. I've never seen that one.
No? Oh dude, this is early garage rock, probably from '67 from
Oh,
Chicago.
really?
Yeah, this is real deal shit. There's a song. They do a great cover of Gloria. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'll get this to you. I'll get you a
Oh no,
copy of
I'll
this.
find
Yeah,
it. I got my
yeah.
guy. I call him. He knows.
Well,
That's the beautiful thing about vinyl too, is the relationship you have with people like you or like my guy at Fantasyland in Atlanta. I'm like, hey dude, I'll be home for 2 days. Just get me a stack of what I need, and it's just great. I love what he thinks I should hear and what he knows I want to hear. Does that make sense? Like it's
absolutely
educate. It's like going to the library.
right.
It's
It's
like going to the
music
library.
discovery, music discovery.
Right.
And let me ask you, and so I was wondering the song "Where's Bob Dylan Today" on the album. Bob Dylan on the I think it was the Street Legal album. The very last song, there's a song "Where Are You Tonight." I was wondering, is there any? I want to talk about the song, but is there any connection between that and the song on the album?
No, I just, my dad was a minister, so he was careful when I was growing up what I could listen to. And then Bob went through his Christian phase,
Yeah,
Long Train Coming, and that record just set me a, a fire on Bob Dylan. Like it had different subjects, but like I just started studying him, and I
yeah,
loved his phrasing. Um, and I just was, you know, the world's kind of gone nuts to me in general. Everybody was like fighting each other. And I always said, like, Bob Dylan was the greatest. They said he was an activist or whatever, but he was so careful and so good at how he worded things. He wasn't saying one side or the other. He just made you aware what was going on without preaching, for lack of a better term. And so I was just trying to do the same. And I was like, where's the master? Bob Dylan, where are you today? Write us a song, brother. Give us one to get us through. And the cool thing, that's the only song that was not at Elvis's house. I actually recorded that live at the Ryman Theater in Nashville. And I didn't even know our front of house guy recorded it. And he goes, I recorded that. I was like, we need to put that on. Like, it was a meaningful song to me. And the guys they get to take a break because I go, I'll, go do that for 4 minutes. And they're like, thank you, Ed.
It's an excellent song. And
Thank you.
you have the affectation of Bob Dylan when you do it, and you got the harmonica. It's got a good effect all around.
Okay, well, I hope it came across as one of my heroes. Like, and hopefully it comes across as that way.
It does. He's one of my heroes as well. When I heard it, I sense the love.
And the good thing about it being live, because if you really listen to his early stuff, it was live. He might have been in the studio, but it was live, and so. The guys were like, harmonica's a little tuned, guitar sound. I was like, I don't care, because it felt right, and that's how that's how they used to do it in the 60s and 70s anyway. More about feeling, not perfection. I was like, guys, really? Sounds great to me.
Yeah, I imagine Bob's the same way, still.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Are you familiar with that song by Bob Dylan, Where Are You Today? Where Are You Tonight? From the Street Legal album?
The Street Legal, I mean, I've heard it. Like I said,
go revisit it, because everybody's done massive analysis on every Bob Dylan song, and what I understood from that song is that was right before Slow Train Coming, so that was the last song on the album before Slow Train Coming. That was like the nod that he's moving into this religious phase, and it's a really, really cool song.
I gotta check it out. I want to check it out.
There's no chorus. There's 14 verses. Pure.
We did my other band, Sweet Tea Project. We did that Freedom Bob Dylan tribute. God, it's been 6-7 years, and it was funny. Like, there's God, what song was it? I'm blanking right now, but yeah, it's like 12 verses.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how does he remember these words? Like, I'm just sitting there going, God Almighty.
Well, I think the thing is, he doesn't. I think he'll change it if he needs.
He'll change it. I've never got to see him in concert. Never been had the opportunity.
Oh, I think he changes. When he plays "Blowing in the Wind" or whatever, you're not going to recognize it. So he changes it, and he's gotten a lot of shit over the years for it. I happen to think it's really great.
Oh, I heard that from people. They go see him. They're like, I don't even know what he just does what he wants to do.
Exactly.
Shelter from the Storm's the one that we covered.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, hey Bob, what happened? Just 7 verses are cool.
Yeah. Well, see Bob if you can, because I feel like now he's in like he's become Howlin' Wolf. He's become the old blues man that he's always wanted to be. And I feel like even with these new reconstructions of how the songs are presented, it's so perfect.
Oh man, I can't. Our schedule. It's hard for me to see anybody anymore. So it's kind of tough, because we're so busy, and it's luck of the draw.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term.
You've had so many amazing experiences throughout your career. There was something I read once, and I want to know if this is true, that Billy Joel, you once tried to convince him to produce an album. Is that?
Well, Elton lived in Atlanta, so Elton's been a great friend to me and very special. So he called me one day, says, I'm going to Philadelphia. You want to ride with me? I was like, sure. I mean, Elton calls, you go, yeah, let's go. So on the way up there, I was like, I really want to talk to Billy Joel. Like, I've never met him. And I was like, I really want to do Glass Houses Part 2. Like that just old school 50s, 60s vibe. He goes, Love, he's not doing any more music. I was like, let me try. So I tried, and it didn't go over too well.
That's an incredible opportunity to do that.
Come down to Atlanta. I said, we'll set it up. It'll just be like, in a warehouse somewhere, and just be raw, and we'll just have fun with it. And he goes, no. I was like, okay. So I tried one more time. You sure about it? No. So I was like, I gave it a shot. I mean, I had no in my back pocket. I got
Amazing,
declined from Billy Joel.
amazing. And now we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of the debut album, which was you essentially
Yeah, it was just a
recording these
demo, batch of
demos.
demos. Yeah,
I grew up with that song, and up until a couple years ago, honestly, I had no idea that that was a demo.
yeah.
It sounds exactly how it's supposed to be, and it sounds perfect. And I'm curious because in your mind, you knew it was a demo. Um, did you, when it got put on a major label, did you want to re-record this, or did you feel
Well,
this was it?
well, yes, we wanted to record, and I wanted to record the whole record because it's a batch of demos. It really is not, to me, not consistent. There's just, I'm showcasing maybe a little country, a little grunge, or whatever was going on at the time because I just wanted to get a publishing deal. So there was no band, so it was just me. But we had started playing, so we had about 6 months on our belt, and I figured out what this band was about, where I should write songs. They were like, "Nope, it ain't broke, don't fix it," and that's why the second record came out 8 months after they released the first one, because every day off we had, and even at the shows at Soundcheck, I would come up with different songs and we'd rehearse them. We'd play them at the show, so we had pre-production on tour for 8 months. So every day we had off during that 8 months, we'd go to a studio, whatever town we're in, and made the second record, which is truly I call it the debut record. It's a band, and that's the blue one with World in December. But we were figuring it out then as
And
a band.
so the songs that were on the Collective Soul album, those were written in the period between the release of Hints and Allegations. Uh,
Correct.
yeah,
Like an 8-month
wow,
period there on the road. Yeah.
it's a really prolific output in that short period because you were also going through this whirlwind of what the heck is going on. You played
But I
Woodstock.
think that was my therapy and my release. Like
Yeah,
crazy shit's going on. I'd sit in the back of the bus and just kind of go, hey, let me take a breath and just, once again, try to let it flow, man. I'm kind of a spiritual cat, believe in meditation and all that. And like, I'm just like, let's see what happens here. And people, there's so much pressure taken off because people always talk about, you have your whole life to write the first record and then, 6 months, a year to write the second one. Well, to me, like being able to afford an apartment, food, like there's so much release. Like it was like, oh man, all I have to do, seriously, the easiest job on the planet is sit in the back of a bus and write. That's all I ever wanted to do. So my wish came true. So I needed to kick ass and make it happen.
yeah, and you
And like I
did.
said, I go back to the band. They challenge me, man. They won't let me rest on. They just won't, and I love that. And like I said, I don't let them rest either.
And I love the fact, and I think a lot of people do that in the band. You have your brother, and for the last 30 years, you guys have been playing together as a consistent
Yeah.
unit. Because the history of music is obviously there's a lot of feuds in that. So what are those? Obviously, you love each other and it's close, but what are those practical key, things that just from a relationship standpoint, people need to do to maintain these types of strong working relationships, loving relationships, because it's not common in any sense.
No, I always joke with my brother, the Kings, I always heard about Ray busting a guitar over Dave and all that. I was like, I just got to be honest with you, Brother Dean. My guitars mean too much to me to break them over your head. So that's our inside joke. But I think because we grew up in the same, of course, we grew up in the house, but the rest of the guys, across the street, and we knew each other. I've known them since they were born. I mean, they were 10 years younger than me. So I think I've always said that it would be tough as a male, be 21 or 24 years old, and all of a sudden you're put in a bus with these guys you really don't know. And at some point, different, you know, something's going to come out. We already knew each other. I've always said we've known when to be there to hug each other and when to knock the fuck out of each other if we need to. And nobody gets hurt. We're just trying to do it for the
Yeah,
best because we're a strange band. We like each other and we love each other. We really do. And it wasn't until we started having families that the wives started saying, all right, we're moving to San Diego. Dean moved to San Diego. Johnny to Indianapolis. Like we were so, because we'd come home and we couldn't let go of hanging around each other. It was just, they were like, enough of that boy time. Y'all have had 5 6 months of that family time now, guys.
yeah. And I saw an interview once where you mentioned the hints and allegations time is the best of times and the worst of times, and the best of times is, I would imagine, that's the catapult of the career. And what would you describe it as, element as the worst of?
The business side of it. I wasn't prepared, and like I said, the guys were 10 years younger than me, and it was my job to kind of, I should have known better, but just the business, it's called music business. I was naive, and I was so excited, once again, the guys were excited. All were excited. And we just kind of overlooked certain things that we should have been a little bit more prepared for, and should have had people surrounding us that were looking out for us. We were just naive Southern boys that were just happy that somebody showed up, because before then, the only people that show up to my gigs was who I was dating at the time, and that's because it was free beer. So, all of a sudden to go from nothing to, playing Woodstock, opening for Aerosmith, we were like, just floating on air. And working really hard and getting excited about the record being the band that we knew we could be, with the second record. Like, we get really excited when I present songs to them. They were like, man, the second record's gonna be really, we felt really confident, and it was exciting again. But at the same time, we had to go through the whole lawsuit thing. So live and learn, baby, live and learn.
Those songs are iconic and they'll live forever, and they're truly great, just great songs.
Thank you.
And during that time, you toured with Van Halen, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's classic, as great as it gets. Any stories, anything big memories?
So many stories. It was like they knew our naiveness. Like, I'm not, because we were just excited, and they took us under their wing, and I mean, helped us in so many ways. Eddie was just absolute sweetheart. One of the coolest things ever. He came on the bus one day, and cigarette and headstock, cigarette and hanging his mouth. He goes, "Hey, we're playing golf tomorrow." It's like, "Well, you're Eddie Van Halen. I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to do." So we could play golf, and he goes, "Greatest line ever." And I love golf now, but he goes, "Learn to get outside, play golf." Trying to do my gravel voice like he spoke, but he goes, because every hotel is the same. They have a bed or shitter or telephone and TV, and you'll always end up at the bar. You don't want to end up at the bar every night. He goes, get out, play golf, bike, or something. So that was kind of, literally, it was like were their little cousins or something, and just so sweet, and still are. Sammy and Michael, still, and I'll never forget, Eddie came off the stage one night because he really was just beyond kind to me, and came off stage. He'd always stop in our room and just talk for a minute, and he just handed me his guitar. I was like, "What do you want to do with it?" And he goes, "Take it home." I was like, "Oh, you sure?" He's like, "Sure, take it home." I was like, "Okay."
Wow. Well, it seems like musicians love gifting you instruments, because Elton gifted you a piano. Is that right?
I know. Dolly Parton gifted me a Grammy. Like, I'm like,
Is that right?
Well, I'll just sit and listen to records,
Hey, do you have a whole room just filled of people's things that they've given you?
I do keep the piano and the guitar close by.
That's awesome. And another thing that I've always appreciated about the band is you've been, before it was a thing and people wanted to become an independent artist, you guys took that plunge and you became independent artists, and you had your own label, still do. And I'm curious, because at that time when you started doing it in the early 2000s, when streaming became starting, how has it changed over the years in difficulty or the ease of becoming an independent artist and releasing your own stuff?
To me, it started when I went to Atlantic, who was our label, and I went to the, I guess, CEO or president. And this was when Metallica and Napster were going at each other. And I went up there directly to say, "Hey, what do y'all think about this digital and streaming and Napster?" And I'll never forget, he goes, "It'll go away, Ed." And I remember walking out, calling my attorney. I was like, "I want off. I could figure this out." And they were very kind about letting us go. They just said, "Give us another record of greatest hits." And I was like, "Cool." So we knocked that out quick. And I loved, we were basically independent all along anyway. We never had an A&R person in the studio during Collective Souls years. They didn't even know we finished a record. I'd fly up to New York. I'm going, "Hey, we did a record." And they're like, "Oh God, we made our second quarter." I'm like, "Second quarter?" So I was learning the whole naive thing was still clicking. Excuse me. So when we decided to go independent, the one thing that I sat down and I would talk to the guys. It's like the one thing we had that bands didn't have at that time was the brand. We did have a brand, and we were coming off being really big at radio. And I said, if ever's a time, this is the time. Let's do it. And we were basically the first ones, and everybody thought we were nuts. I couldn't even get a manager. The last guy I talked to became my manager, and it was perfect timing because the record company was starting to break up a lot then, because there was just the whole digital, streaming stuff was happening. So I then could handpick like the greatest people that worked at like Maverick. Fred Chriselle, one of my, like, not only best friend, but like he ran Maverick Records and had no job. And I'm like, hey Fred, my name's Ed. You want to be a part of this? And it just worked out great. It was like a boutique record label that was just for us, with the greatest minds, radio promotion staff, everything. So when we first did it, everybody was like, y'all are nuts. You're never going to sell anything. I think we ended up selling close to, well, we sold 350. So I'm sure we're over 500,000 by now, over 20 years, I guess it's been. So it worked out good for us.
Yeah, amazing. Well,
and I always say an artist knows their weaknesses and their strengths, not people sitting in New York or LA who really are not the day to day and understand the band. And every band's different. The personalities are different, but we knew, I don't want to spend money over there. I don't want to make a $200,000 video. It means absolutely nothing to me or to this band. We can do it for 20. If you want to do one, I got buddies that'll do one. And nobody's going to know how much it costs. You don't put the price of cost on a video back then when MTV would play videos. So, we just kind of ran it like a business. It was fun, and it still is fun that way. I love the independence of it.
Do you release anything other than the Collective Soul album?
I did an Americana band called Sweet Tea Project. I did 2 records with that. I had a new wave record that I did called Alien Attitude. As I mentioned earlier, I love the Cars. So, and I got another Alien Attitude record we're going to try to finish up this year. I stay busy. I love making music, man. It's fun.
I love it. I love that you do. And we're going to wrap. And I want to ask you just one last question. What music now are you listening to, or was that cue that you showed me your current listening stuff?
It's tough. I don't settle in on too many things.
How about this?
I've really gotten into Willie Nelson a lot lately. Just his vibe, and just because I still write, so I'm trying to find a template to what next record's going to be. I kind of want to go on that vein. Tom Petty, I mean, a lot of Petty right now.
I see him right in the background there.
Oh, you see my pictures?
Yeah.
I got Keith, Elton and Bernie, Tom, Bowie and Mick Ronson, Townsend, and I got John and Paul, and then I got Mick over there. So that's my museum where I come in and write. They're looking at me. You better do good this time, Ed. You better make it right.
I love it. Well, Ed, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for all the great music, and congrats on the new album.
Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you so much.
And I'm gonna get you a copy of this Blues Magoos. So we'll be in touch.
All right, brother.
All right, thanks, man.
See you, buddy.
Great tour. Bye bye.
Thank you, buddy. Bye.